Ayo, what you cooking?
Welcome to Lend Me a Fiver podcast, where we have conversations with people who have had successful journeys. Make sure that you subscribe and share this with your friends and family. And also leave comments. Let us know what kind of careers you want to hear from, who we should get, and we'll work on trying to put that together. Today, I want to welcome our guest today, Sanmi Adegoke, founder and CEO of Rehoboth Property International, one of London's leading investment and real estate development firms. And my understanding, you got to correct me if I'm wrong with these numbers, right? So you've personally closed property deals in excess of 170 million. And Rehoboth as a company has collectively managed deals and transactions in excess of 500 million. Most recently, which I've seen in the press, is one of your recent developments. You kind of produced or working on one of Kent's biggest developments. Is Kent's first co-working space, and it used to be a formal courthouse and police station. And so my understanding is that you didn't come from like silver spoon, right? So you had a bit of a journey, right? So no doubt this track record is impressive, and it speaks for itself. But it'll be good to kind of just understand how you managed to build this company from the ground up, and how you managed to get yourself here today, just to start with.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
No worries, man. I appreciate you having taken the time.
No worries. I would just start from where the journey started from.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was going to start this, it was looking around the real estate industry, and I saw what can I do that is going to be different?
Okay.
What can I do that would also be of benefit to the community? And also, what would I do that people would see the value that I'm going to be adding to a particular need? And one major one, because I was in residential, buying stuff from auction, doing residential deals before I went into commercial.
Okay.
And I saw there was a big demand for place of worship.
Okay.
I'm a faith person, so I saw what the pastors were going through, connecting to my white counterpart, my white colleagues, understanding how to relate with them with regards to faith and also the practical thing, which many people don't understand faith will know that a pastor can preach from a faith perspective of saying, for example, I trust God to have £5 million to have a building. Mm-hmm. And an agent wouldn't understand that because faith, that doesn't make sense. They want to see proof of funds and all that. And I started seeing that was a major problem for a lot of churches. I had an opportunity of speaking to my pastor, and I said, I'm thinking of going into this direction. And literally went into that field, which is called the D1 market. It's changed now from D1 because of a new class use. So it was called the D1. And went into the D1 market, and I realized, wow, this was massive.
Okay.
I had 3 clients. We grew from 3 clients to about 3,000 clients because of how massive the demand is.
Okay, but hold on. I think we got to take a step back though. Let's rewind the period, because obviously I think that transition seems pretty impressive for sure. But take us back. So were you born here? Were you raised here? Or?
Okay, so
let's go back.
Okay,
let's rewind.
I moved to the UK when I was 20.
Okay,
and I remember coming to the UK and fresh from the boat from Lagos, Nigeria. And
Niger boy.
Why? Niger boy. Yeah. And looking around, then there was the first thing but everyone was saying to is get a job, get something doing. You need to save some money. You need to do this.
And what education level did you have at this point?
So coming from Nigeria, I went straight into college. So I went straight from Nigeria, I got to the UK, went to Seton Islington College.
Okay.
And while I was trying to go into college, I had my first job, which was at McDonald's.
Okay. So what were you studying?
So it was my A-levels in Seton Islington College.
Okay.
So while I was doing that, I was then working at McDonald's. That was like my first job.
Yeah, McDonald's. Wow.
And
which one?
It was on Old Kent Road.
Oh yeah, Old Kent. Yeah,
it was
classic place.
That was for me coming from Nigeria, and I remember my auntie had a salon, and she wanted me to be a barber, but I just didn't like it. So the opportunity.
Did you cut hair?
She tried to train me on it,
but
it wasn't just me.
Not
I wasn't.
of course.
It wasn't for me. So I left there. I was so glad when someone connected me to getting a job at McDonald's. Went in for the training. I had about 9 Nigerians at McDonald's
Colleagues,
Weekend Road. Yeah, so it was so great seeing. They were uncles. I was really young.
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
were
of course.
uncles and aunts. And
but you said you were happy with that job, yeah?
I was glad. Getting a job paying about £3.20. So that was like, for me, just looking at coming from Nigeria, £3.20, converting that to the Naira was great. And for even growing up at that point in time in the UK, in South London, that was a good job. Like many young people just didn't have a job. So it was a good opportunity to have a job at McDonald's. And what I was doing then was I started understanding and seeing what McDonald's was about, because a lot of people don't really understand what McDonald's is about. So I was able to understudy that McDonald's was just not about the restaurant. McDonald's is about the real estate, which I'll come to in our conversation. So I had a lot of time to understand and learn a lot of stuff. Within 1 year, the manager was going to get me to become assistant ship manager, went into promotion to ship manager. But I just knew this is not where I want to be.
Yeah, so you're working hard though, right? So you're still performing at McDonald's, right?
If you're coming from Nigeria, you're told you need to work hard. You need to make this money. You just need to make the pounds, and just see that you save as much as you can. You want to see that I just want to save as much. I want to make as much as I can do. So I probably then I was in a lot of overtime. I probably had some days of 16 hours in McDonald's. It was just crazy. Within 6 months, I was able to learn how to use the till and how to use the grill as well. Probably can see some of my.
Oh, you still got the wars, the battle scars, yeah.
Yeah, I always keep this for my kids, so they remember that. So within 6 months, I was able to learn everything in McDonald's, and it was amazing, because that was it wasn't really my first opportunity, because I worked with my mom when I was younger, when I was 16, 17. I was working with my mom, I was learning a little bit. So it was for me a better opportunity to see that I can prove myself that I can do something. So McDonald's was the start of it. I then left. I had an opportunity. Then they were building Canary Wharf.
Okay.
So Canary Wharf was like, wow. Like
what? So they had no buildings up at?
Nah. So it was just coming up, the skyscraper and all that.
Okay.
So I had an opportunity of someone saying to me that, oh, there's a job open in Canary Wharf, and I was so glad. Obviously, working at McDonald's, my pay had gone up then. I think I was on about £4.50 or £5. So an opportunity of going to work in Canary Wharf was so great, but if you probably guess what sort of job you might think I went for in Canary Wharf. Can you guess?
Security, maybe.
Oh, you got it right. Wow. I'll lend you a $5.
Yeah, that's good.
No, so I just went in, and it was a security job, and that was like, I was so glad, because coming from McDonald's and getting a security job was for a young guy, I probably was 22, so it was so great for me to see that I'm going to get a job. I'll be paid £10.25.
Yeah, it's a massive jump.
So it was a massive jump for me. Went for the first interview. I just got it. I was happy. So the second round of interview was where it was just Second round of interview, got there, was excited that, oh, this is gonna be, I'm gonna get this job. I didn't tell them at McDonald's I was looking for another job. And going for the second round of interview, and I got there, it was just very devastating, because I was told I was still 21, still growing. I don't think anything has changed, maybe my body, but I was a little bit, I was shocked.
Okay.
So the guys in the room were like,
big guys.
Yeah. I didn't have a muzzle. I was just like this little guy.
Yeah.
But they just liked me. But unfortunately, that just killed it. I didn't get a job. So devastated that, all right, I'm going to give it a try again. Went back to my McDonald's stuff, but I was then lucky there was a security company in North London called Force Security. Mm-hmm. So Force Security I didn't got a job at Force Security. So went back to, started my job at Force Security. I then went to uni. While I was doing my Force Security job, it was in Knightsbridge. So I was being moved around different areas. So my first proper place to kind of to guard was in front of Harrods. I'll never forget this.
Wow, that's a premium location.
Yeah, it was. If you know where Zuma restaurant is.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yes, so it was before Zuma was built. Mm-hmm. So it was a building, it was like one of the first major office buildings in Knightsbridge. I just loved that building. It was amazing. Walking down every night, looking at those buildings in Knightsbridge that was part of what changed a lot for me. And I started questioning a lot of stuff, looking at the Arabs, looking at those guys who got this building. I'm very inquisitive. I just want to learn and ask stuff. And I started asking stuff about, how do you guys do this? What's the secret of... So I started speaking to a lot of the main guys in the building, the real estate developers, and started.
And this, they were renting or buying in this.
So some of them. I was speaking to the owners. They were letting out the building to a lot of organizations and companies. So we were just there manning the building.
Real money, basically.
That's correct. So I was just trying to find out so many information to see that this wouldn't be the end of me, because this as a Naija boy. That there's something in you, that DNA to want to succeed. You just want to really succeed and see that this is not going to be the end of the story. I'm going to make it well in this country. And I remember speaking to a particular one of the directors, and he said to me that he recommended a book to me, that changed my life.
Go on, which one?
The book was called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay, yes.
And that was the beginning of the journey.
Okay.
So I just knew my colleague, while I was doing my security stuff, didn't understand it, because I was always saying to them, they just thought, this guy's mad, he's young, he just doesn't understand what he's saying. That, don't worry, you see the story when things changes. And fast forward the story, after leaving, and I went from there, I started selling cars. So I was selling cars.
Not a showroom, you're just buying some cars. And
I was just buying. We were lucky back in the days in South London, where you could have like 10, 20 cars on the road, where you just park and put a sticker for sale on the cars. But I had something that was very creative. So I was lucky to have someone working in the post office. One major problem back in those days when you were selling cars was you needed to tax your cars and MOT. So most people couldn't tax a car because you needed an insurance. But it wasn't easy to get people to have insurance because a lot of people didn't have driving license. So it was that. So I was able to get an owner of a post office to help me with taxing those cars. So I was able to tax the cars. So I could have I'll go to the auctions. I'll probably buy 10, 15 cars, bring them back to South London. And within a week, I was selling a lot. And it was really interesting. From there, I then started doing stuff for Nigeria. We had a new president that came a new president that was sworn in. I started selling. Then he had the Nigerian Communication, NCC, got the license for people to start for the likes of Glow. What's it called now? They've changed a lot of them, the old names. I'm trying to remember the old names. But they had the license for telecommunication. So I started bringing in phones from the UK and shipping to Nigeria. Phones, laptop. I opened a store in Lagos, on the mainland, opened another one in Port Harcourt.
Wow.
Started growing like that. And that was
so
just...
So you had that entrepreneurial spirit from the beginning.
From the beginning, working with my mom, I just had it. People from that young age, I learned so much working with my mom. That was something that I'll give to her, that I was able to learn from a young age, because she had one of the first business center in our area. Because back in those days in Nigeria, it was very hard to have telephone. So we had a massive business center. So I was the one managing it. So just leaving secondary school, I was able to get that. I was able to work for her. So that was the beginning of me understanding and learning that.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so at this point, you've got a number of businesses, right? And I guess you're doing okay, financially, you're doing okay. You're comfortable.
That's correct.
Okay. So what was the transition? So I guess we can kind of go back now to that portion of you were in real estate, right? What was your introduction into real estate?
So my introduction was buying my first property. I remember buying this property in South London, which was Barrett to a building, was Abbeywood.
Okay.
It's been I think, how many years now? Maybe 18
Do you remember how much?
My first property was 161,000.
Okay, so not the cheapest. Right?
Not the cheapest.
But a lot cheaper than today.
It was at that point, that was a luxury property.
Okay.
Because it was right by the train station.
Okay.
So what we were buying location.
Okay.
I was buying other properties for 100,000, 60,000. But that was my first buy, which I didn't put a deposit. I didn't put no money down. So there was no money down. So we started buying
0% deposit.
Yeah. So back in those days, you could easily just get a mortgage without anything. That's why I said it wasn't 161,000 was a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Buying a property then for 161,000. So literally, you could just buy 5, 6 properties. It was so easy. It wasn't as difficult as it used to be now, and there was a lot of incentive. And there was so it was, I was able to buy off-plan properties, go to like developers, tell them I want to buy 5, 6 properties, take your plans, we sell them, make profit from that. So I started growing from there, then auction properties, from auction properties, then went into commercial property, which was the start of Rehoboth. But along the line, remember, I was still doing my other businesses. But what I always say to people was, when you're in business, you think you're making money, you think you're doing business. But there is something that is called purpose, which is understanding what you're called for, what you're meant to be doing. Because you can see yourself doing a lot of businesses and thinking you're making money, but not fulfilling your potential and not fulfilling what you're called for. And I knew that something was missing because I thought I was doing a lot. There was out of like 6 businesses in Africa. So it was okay for a young man to be traveling around, going back and forth to Lagos and thinking you're doing a lot of deals and doing contracts and doing businesses. But there was just nothing to define me as that person. So if you meet me now, it's like, what would you call me? Sammy, the business guy. So something was missing. So I then had to start thinking about, what's my purpose? I need to identify my purpose. I was then able to find a great mentor who is late now. It's called Miles Monroe. I was listening to him. It became a distant mentor to me. I could learn about my purpose, understanding how to fulfill my purpose. And that was like the big change for me.
What was his, was he a speaker or a business? Was he an entrepreneur?
So Miles Monroe is a teacher, is a faith teacher, but is also a business guru, is a leader. He is pastor now. So he was in, like, even if you go to Google, he was a genius of his time. He's still a genius because I still listen to some of his messages and some of his books. But he had something that was profound, which was on purpose. Because a lot of time, what we always miss out, like young people ask me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If you don't find your purpose, you're just going to keep going around until you identify that purpose. And it was then I was able to identify and understand my purpose was in real estate. And finding that this is what I was called to do. And that was the start for me to then focus on finding what I would do to add value in the community.
Okay. All right, great. That's, as I said, it's impressive stuff. So at this point, right, so you made a decision, right? You've got properties, you've gone into commercial. How did you learn that though, right? What made you kind of want to go into commercial properties? What was that introduction? What made you think, actually, this is an opportunity for me to make a bit more money or whatever? Or maybe it wasn't money. What was the driver?
Like what many entrepreneurs will say to you, it's about finding a need and solving a problem, a major problem. The black churches were looking for buildings. Faith is our way of life. Faith is what we live. Faith for our community. It's essentially what we believe in. And massive growth of faith group, not just even the black community, because we have a lot of English clients, we have a lot of Indian clients, we have a lot of clients from different races, so not just the black community.
So is Rehoboth, is that a focus? Is the faith a focus or specialty?
So we went in because of my background as a faith person. And realize also to understand, because Rehoboth is an Hebrew name, and which means God has made room for us in the land. In the place of me trying to find my purpose, where I was trying to do a lot and it feels like I was confused, I was able to find the inner understanding of what God needed me to do, because it was still part of my process of God teaching me what I needed to understand about what He has called me for, which is my purpose. So Rehoboth came from a place of struggle, of me finding what I needed to do. Because Rehoboth came from a man in the Bible called Isaac, that Isaac was a son of Abraham. But Isaac was struggling. And every time he was digging and trying to do stuff, it just couldn't work for him. And it was similar to me, because I was trying to do a lot of stuff, but it was just not working the way I wanted it to work. So it was then I realized that this was my purpose, which would then started Rehoboth as a business. So from finding the need of those pastors, of those faith group, because it was a lot. Every other day, we've grown from the commercial angle to development, but that element of the business, which is on consultants, which is now focused on consultancy for those churches, there's still a massive demand. If I come into this building now, and if this building can see about 300 people, I can tell you, I can have 10, 20 clients coming to view this building because of the demand for the space.
And so you were were you seeing the potential for a building, or were you buying it ready? So this is already a church, or so you could see the potential.
You rarely will see the potential. So we created one thing that we'll say as a company that we are graced to understand that we know we probably say is probably one of our biggest strengths is we're very creative. We were able to see that looking at different buildings, what can we do with this building? For example, a bingo building, they probably was used as a bingo building as a massive seating area.
A gala hall, whatever.
Exactly, the gala hall and all that. Yeah. Have a massive seating area. And the likes of, we're able to turn gala bingo buildings into church buildings, old cinemas building into church building. From going from those other buildings, we're the first people to turn a court building into a church. I remember going to the court building. It was, if you've probably been into a court, you know the small courtrooms and court hall. I took in my team and we saw we could knock out the entire space and turn that into a place of worship. And from there, we started buying other buildings, started finding other building warehouses.
So you were actually purchasing, doing them up, and then selling?
So we started as a search and acquisition agency. From there, we grew from them finding the spaces, buying ourselves, and then selling onto the Faith Group. Because what you have is there's a timeline. With the Faith Group, in making decision, they just can't make a decision just like that because they're governed by the laws of the land as charities. So the trusts are there, the trusts have to make decision. And what we had was, there was always that timeline of developers trying to buy the same building. So we didn't realize the best way for us not to be losing this building, because this building is a trophy asset. This building is just come by, because if you lose that, you potentially lost a massive asset. So we then thought the best way is creating an investment vehicle where we can use to buy those buildings and sell it. So we then started looking at ways of raising capital, buying the buildings, and then paying back some of our investors, and then selling on to the Faith Group.
Okay, well, it's impressive stuff. And so I'm assuming that obviously the more you just kind of started doing more and more, right? So you had started with one, moved to two, and so on, right? And then progressively, right. Okay. And that's where you are today. So, and it's effectively the same model, or has that evolved in any way?
So it's evolved from we doing consultancy to investment, now to development, which now we build. We've got many residential development in the pipeline. We've got many projects where we're developing, which you know about, like the one you mentioned, the first co-working and co-living in Kent. So that's evolved around different areas of the business.
Okay, awesome. So one thing I will say, so getting onto the property ladder, especially for today, generation today, right? The hardest thing is first-time buyers, right? Yeah. They struggle to kind of, I think it's just a big challenge to just start, right? Whether it's raising a deposit or just other issues like stamp duty, whatever it may be, whether or not to buy a new build or whatever it may be, right? What advice would you have for someone who's kind of going, this first-time buyer, right? Just if you were to give them any advice to how best to approach getting on the property market in today's society.
So one of the first things I would say to a lot of people that ask me that question is, the first thing you want to try to do is make sure you check your credit report. Your credit history is very important. A lot of time people play with this. Make sure before you start to think of getting onto the property ladder, look at your credit report, look at your credit history. If the things you need to change, if the things you need to bring back to normal, do that. So that when you try to get a mortgage, it becomes easy for you. Because that is always the major challenge, your credit report. From there, there's so many opportunities that people don't know about. There's so many government schemes that many people don't even know about. I mentor a lot of people. I do a lot with giving back to helping young people to get into the property ladder. And I say there's probably about 5-10 schemes that people don't know they qualify for. Look at those opportunities. Look at areas like the
So you think as far as government schemes, you would recommend people consider that, right?
Because that's the world you get into on the property ladder. Because for many times you have people trying. We know how hard this is in saving up over 30,000 pounds. So it's a struggle for many people to do that. So if you can and if you qualify for the government scheme, it's just important to leverage on that and see that you can use that scheme to kind of get to the property ladder.
Okay, no, that makes sense completely. So kind of sticking to this similar theme, are there any other tips or gems you've got, just maybe not even just for first time buyers, but just for property investors in general, about the best types of properties to go for, areas that they could potentially look into currently, but also just from your experience and investing in properties, things that people shouldn't do, right? Or ensure that they shouldn't go into or avoid, right? It's just kind of both ends of the spectrum.
All right. If you're investing in property, always make sure your research is around that particular area. Look out for what is coming to that area. Many areas are going through regeneration. If you're buying in an area where there is a massive regeneration, you know in another 5 years' time, you're going to benefit from it. And the second thing is...
And is that just like council websites? Where do you find that information?
So a lot of this information are on government websites, on areas where they're having regeneration. Major towns in the UK today are going through a massive regeneration. So, for example, Birmingham is going through a massive regeneration. Birmingham, we have quite a number of development projects in Birmingham. Birmingham, I can just jump on the train. I'm in Birmingham in less than an hour. The areas in Kent, we do a lot of stuff in Kent. Kent is going through a massive regeneration. The areas where you will be so shocked, even in London, that are going through massive generation. Look out for every property you want to go into, seeing the value you can achieve within the next 5 years. It's all about equity game. What can I benefit? What can I get from this property in 5 years? If you're buying a property and in 5 years' time, you're not going to achieve so much with your equity. It just doesn't make sense. Because what you're buying, while you're investing in property, you're investing in that property because of the return you want to have. So always see that you leverage on that. Seeing every area you're looking at, how good is the area, the schools in the area, what are common.
So really in-depth research, not just like
surface. That's correct.
So you need to put that kind of the groundwork, that time into kind of determining where to go. Okay.
Even when you're speaking to a local estate agent, they know the stuff. You can ask them questions. I have a list of questions you want to ask them. They're going to answer you. Just tell them, what do you think? What's coming to this town? For example, in Kent, I can tell you more than 15 stuff that are coming into Kent. It's a massive regeneration in Kent. So you just want to see what other things come into this area. So you then take advantage of what is coming to the area.
Okay, that makes complete sense. And then when you flip the coin, like things to avoid, like what have you some of the things that you may have kind of tell people to watch out for?
One important thing you have to be very mindful and careful about is when you invest in property, don't put your emotion into it. I see a lot of time people are very emotional around property investment. It's not, you might lose one potential property, there's still going to be like 1,001 opportunity for you. Okay.
So you mean if you've got your eyes set on something, there's no guarantee you're going to get that, right? Don't feel too connected to that.
That's correct.
Makes sense.
If you lose that, there will be another opportunity.
Of course.
And also,
but do you think that's your faith that's helping you? In a way, right? Or is like because you're in the mind, you're kind of programmed to know that God will make a way, right?
Yeah. Yes. I say yes to that. But one thing you have to also know is, even aside from we putting the fact of God into it, you would always know that what would always happen with emotion is you can't control that, because you're thinking. I give a good example. I was one of the people I was helping to buy a property today. The property was 525,000, and I said to her, go back, let's renegotiate. When we then renegotiated, they came down from 525 to 500, and I said to her, don't worry, we need to get this down to 490. That's where we're going to get this property to, at 490. And she said to me, okay, I believe what you're saying, but I really want this property. I really, really do want this because there's so many from 525. We've got to go there and say, just wait. As I speak to you, I know by tomorrow, the developer is going to come down the price to what we're asking for. It's just you understanding that there's a way around this. There's a coin you need to look at when you're trying to negotiate deals. It's all about negotiation skills. And if you understand it, it works well for you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, it's like a bit like poker, right?
Right.
You got to play it well.
That's right.
Okay, that makes sense. And then as far as just you as an individual, right? What do you think the unique skill sets you have or you possess, whether it's one thing that you've got, or just a group of things that you think that's helped you in your business and just become successful? Like, what do you think you have?
I would never, everyone that know me, they know this about me. It's one thing I'm big with that's helped me in my business is my faith. I always say to people, it's either you have something you believe in or you don't believe in. My faith has helped me. My faith pushes me. My faith helped me even in difficult times to know that it's still going to be fine. Remember the story. A young guy that came from Nigeria, had his first job at McDonald's, never in his wildest world would think he would end up doing deals of hundreds of millions, owning properties and doing what I'm doing today. So my faith has taught me something unique that I believe so much on, which is my Bible, which is the Bible, which tells me something about if only you believe, all things are possible to them that believe. One of my favorite scripture, all things are possible to them that believe. So that's always helped me, even in difficult times. Just knowing that.
I mean, that's an impressive mindset regardless, right? Because then you don't have the self-doubt that a lot of people have, right?
That's correct.
Because a lot of people fail before they've started.
That's right.
Because right, so
that's right.
Yeah.
It's that's why when I speak about faith, that I tell people that one of my other scriptures says faith is the evidence of things not seen. It's like I said to you, I'm going to be here today at 8 o'clock. Why do you believe me that I'm going to be here? Because I might not be there. I might not even come. I might not turn up. But you have that faith in believing the psalmist said it. I'm going to see him. I'm going to see him. So you understanding that there is someone that needs to push you as you go on the journey in life, because you can't trust yourself. I don't trust myself. But there must be someone that understands me, and I know that it can always propel me, even when I'm not stable in my ways. And that's one thing I would say that my faith has taught me so much. It's amazing what I know. It's amazing what I'm still learning every day with my faith. Faith is one big one. Then I also say to people, it's all about, maybe this is the Nigerian stuff we have as Nigerians, is that tenacity. You just don't give up. You know that it's going to be fine. It's a matter of time. You know this is something you have in your DNA. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
So you keep doing it and still keep believing in yourself.
Okay, nice.
So those two things they've really, really helped. Okay. And also one thing that I always say to people that is always of important value in life and in businesses. I'm a family man, and just knowing that you have a family keeps you going.
Of course.
Because you look at...
It's your motivation, right?
That's one big motivation. I'm big on legacy. And you know that this is why you're doing this. Not just for you. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for generation unborn. I'm doing this for people that would need to read about Sanmi and understand Sanmi was able to achieve this.
Yeah. And I guess you put the work in as far as time, right? So if you consider your first job was 21, right?
Yeah.
At what point did you start your business? What age were you?
I think I started because I was buying laptops and selling while I was even doing.
No, but like Rehoboth.
Oh, I started. So Rehoboth started 7 years ago.
So how many?
I started I think I was 30 when I started.
Okay, so 9 years later, right? So
Yeah.
you were pushing. For sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, and again, a testament to sometimes you have to put that work, that endurance, that work in. You have to put that work in. I just want to, one thing I want to call out for the audience is Sammy's looking so sharp, especially if you're not tuned in to the visuals. Like, I didn't get the memo. Like, I come out in a tracksuit, I was like, and he stepped out like he fully stepped out on me today. But it's okay. We have to get him back so I can throw a suit on. But yeah, so if we go back to kind of the investment side, what would you have you made any? Because I guess when we look at the numbers in those transactions, are there any purchases or investments, whether it's property or outside of it, that you regret? That they really didn't work, and then you were questioning, maybe like were you having doubts? Like, was there a stage or any investments that you made where you're like, this was a bad move?
Yes. I don't think there's any property investor that would say to you they never got burnt. You would have one or two. Definitely yes. I can say yes.
Okay. And how did you react though? Was that did it bring you down? Did it affect you kind of like the business, or were you able to just say, look, this is one of 5? Like, what's your mindset in terms of when you knew that was a mistake?
So I look at mistake as something to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is a part of our life. If you don't fail, you can't succeed. So I would always look at those, like that one particular case, and look at what can I do better. And that same mistake that I made then, I thought was a mistake. If I look back today, it stopped me so much, whereby I can't do that anymore. I can't make that mistake anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to kind of teach myself that before you make this sort of decision again, what would you consider? Because I was that particular property deal, I was still young,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, if this happened, I can do this, I can do that. But I was able to realize on time that it doesn't work like that.
So did you lose financially on that? Or did you break even? Or was it?
I was able to break even later on.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as planned as I wanted it to be.
Okay. But even then, over time, that feels like a loss, right?
That's right. Because when you're projecting, you think in property, numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking this is gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make this, I'll make that, and unfortunately, you see that that's not working the way you want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does success mean to you, right? Because I feel like there's so many people who have a different definition of what success is, right? There's some people that don't even kind of relate success with anything financial or monetary, right? They just believe success could just be an inner peace, right? Or just how they feel. What about you personally? What does success mean to you?
Success to me is sleeping and waking up every day and looking back and thinking, how many people have I made wealthy?
Mm-hmm.
How many people have I been able to help in the journey of my success?
Mm-hmm.
How many people have I been able to pass something on to? I'm very big on legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that what we don't have as a community is understanding the power of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Your legacy is your success. And to me, that is success to me.
Yeah, that's gems. That's powerful. That's a powerful message for sure. And yeah, I think even with, I would kind of liken it to, I liken it to like, Ryan, I don't know if you listen to kind of rap music and so on, but there's a lot of artists that have had their personal success, but you always look at the icons that have put other people in a position or a platform to be able to replicate or even do better than what they've done before, right? It's the legacy theory, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's impressive stuff. So you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? And again, that's a book that's been mentioned multiple times. And you know what's so crazy is that I've obviously got a collection of books, and I'm always making excuses for why I don't read, but really I need to find that time. A lot of the time, my head's in emails and meetings all day. Sometimes reading a book doesn't feel like downtime, so I just want to switch off. But I need to be better. That's a kind of a personal thing I want to do better at. But what are you currently reading, watching, or listening to now?
Just also say something about the reading side, because it's everyone. It's a struggle, because we kind of struggle to see or create the time. But one important thing to note is readers are leaders. The more you read, the more you understand something new. One of the secrets of our business today, it's based on the stuff I read.
Knowledge.
The knowledge. there's so many. As I probably have like 10 books I still need to catch up on. The more I read, the more I'm well informed. I then understand they've done that, so I can. For example, I was one of my favorite holiday destination is Dubai, and I can tell you many things I picked from the Sheikh's book about how Dubai was built, and I've been able to start utilizing that for my next 10-year journey. As I'm trying to do something in Africa, I've been able to learn so much, and that's going to be in 10 years' time. But
I guess I want to make sure I pick up on that though. So you have 10-year plans, right?
Oh, that's correct.
So you put 10-year plans in place.
That's right. Okay. So in another, we've got a plan in the UK where we know we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're doing as we speak. But from here, we need to see that it's just not going to be the UK. It's going to be you affecting the world and affecting, especially where you come from, which I'm African, I'm Nigerian. Seeing that you can bring around changes. So those books would always teach you those little secrets.
What's interesting is because I think we live in a time now where everybody want it now. They want success now. They want the developments. They want the business. They want it now. They want it today. They want it tomorrow, right? So that, I feel like the mindset you've got, as far as like despite what you've achieved to date, you still are planning longer term. You're still considering the long term journey, and I think that's a gift that I think is people really don't. I think they underestimate just how like that patience, right? That understanding that things it's a marathon, right, not a sprint.
That's right.
So it's great to hear. Obviously, we're living in a time that none of us have predicted or experienced before, right? In a pandemic, right? Global pandemic, right? What are your thoughts on investing in real estate now? Because I hear so many different things. I have my theory on whether, again, I'm talking about residential properties or for investment for residential properties. I feel like there's so many different theories, right? Because, for example, now property prices are going up because people are rushing to kind of beat the stamp duty, kind of break, and then, but at the same time, we know that we're going to reach a recession, right? So, what are your thoughts on investing in property today, like today's date?
So there are 3 D's in real estate. One is death. The second is divorce. The third is disaster. These are the best time to invest in real estate.
Okay.
When you go through what we're going through now as pandemic, there's a lot of opportunities. Before I left the office today, there was a deal that was sent to me from one of the auction. We have a lot of relations with a lot of auctioneers. I got a deal from Birmingham that was sent to me today, £155,000. That property is given, the income from that property, it's about 46,000. That gives me a yield of about 20-something%. You would never get that if not for COVID. There's a lot of opportunities. A lot.
I've got to say that 3 Ds is a gem. I love that.
There's no better time. There is no better time.
And what's the, I guess, but how can you tell?
So
when the 3D opportunities arise?
COVID-19 pandemic, people are going to people are closing down businesses. People are moving houses. People that have lived in London that just didn't enjoy being in London for so long are going outside London. There's a lot of changes, even with regards to new laws where Boris Johnson there's so many things that is helping the economy. Because let's remember, one major part of the economy in the UK is property. That's one major part of revenue for the government in the UK. And for them, they would never want to see that the market goes down. And that's why you have the stamp duty that is been extended to, as long as it's been extended to, it might still be extended afterwards. We just can't tell.
They want to encourage it, right?
But the reality is, the opportunity, it's now. And we know from real estate, as an investor, you go into the market when the market is going down. The market would always come up. We've seen many, for my experience in property, I've seen I've seen about 2 recessions, and I know from those recessions we always come back.
Mm-hmm.
The last recession we had was when David Cameron was prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
But the country, the property market still picked up.
Always.
So the UK property market is one of, if I probably say one of the strongest in the world.
Of course.
So you can never go wrong
Yeah.
by understanding this is a good time to invest in the UK.
Okay. No, that's awesome. That's a real big gem. I think I kind of asked this initially, but maybe we didn't touch on it too much because I think we leaned on using government schemes and so on. But what are your tips for like just raising capital, whether you're a first-time buyer or just like someone who's looking at commercial real estate, right? I've often heard people say that sometimes to buy property you don't actually need any capital, right? There's ways that people can do it without actually using their own money and so on. There, I guess that's kind of a loaded question, but what are your, I guess, first thoughts on raising capital for property investment, but also ways that you can potentially buy properties without it?
So something with real estate, it's called leveraging.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand the power of leveraging. And when we say the power of leveraging, it's called OPM, which is other people's money.
Yeah, my friend told me about this. Yeah.
If you need to understand, people say to me a lot of time, I don't have money, how do I get into this? And I'll say to them, you've got people that believe in you, you've got people that trust you, you've got people that understand what you're trying to do. If you're well informed about what you're trying to do, for example, we know about cryptocurrency and all that, I would only invest with someone that has an understanding of it. I would only give someone that I know he understands it.
Of course.
So if you're going to go into this, you want to have a little bit of like proper knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're speaking to people about raising finance, you're going to your family, uncles, aunties, sisters or brothers and saying, I've looked at this deal. I think this deal makes sense. We might, in 5 years' time, make this.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than we having money sitting in the bank and the bank is not even giving us, it's negative interest on money.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation, our money every day is dying in the bank. Why not we put this on property? So by the time you speak to about 5, 10 people, your friends and family that might believe in you, you might be able to pick a good deal at the auction.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to find something interesting that those 5, 10 people that come with you, that go with you, within 3 to 5 years' time, you guys own an asset together.
Yeah, so honestly,
and some people, it's just about it's about return. Some people you might decide to give them 10% return on their capital, 15% return on their capital, and seeing that the property can be the security against the capital that they're giving to you. Just always remember that what people would want is, how is my money secured? Not just don't go to people because you think, oh, it's my uncle, it's my auntie. Oh, no. Do it in a proper way. Do it as business. Don't do it that is my friend.
Family,
Make it look proper. Make it look professional. I'm trying to do this. This is my numbers. If you give me £20,000 now, this is what we can potentially pay back. Or we can own the asset together. The income, the rental income, we can split this. We can make this together. So it's just understanding how to structure every deal you have, or every opportunity of knowing, if I'm going to go into the market, let me find people that will believe in me, but I'm coming from a educated place to understand what I'm trying to sell to people.
No, that's gems. Honestly, that's the real gems. What would you say is really important to you?
Think now.
In anything, right?
Having 2 kids and my lovely wife.
Okay.
Families is important. Families really important, because families, that's you. You look at your son, you look at yourself in that little boy. You look at your daughter and you see yourself and think, this is gonna be my princess. This is my princess.
Yeah,
this is gonna be someone I'm raising. This is me raising someone. And also my wife, looking through that, as entrepreneurs, it's a lot for you to kind of juggle your business and family, and knowing what your wife would have to go through every day with the kids. Is a lot of stuff, and I think that's something I really admire, and I'm really kind of I'm so big on to understand, appreciating, and knowing that that's something of value to me. And I've said a lot on this podcast. My faith.
Yeah, and of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it probably because the other question I've got is, and you've probably answered it already, but it'd be good just to hear. What would you say the best resources are that helped you along the way?
Wow. I think one big stuff that I would probably pick on. It's important because you might have mixed audience of people listening to us. It's the ability for my mother to be able to teach us values of life from a young age, and knowing that you can succeed in life regardless where you're coming from. From a young age, I was able to understand that. So I was never, no one would intimidate me. No one would make me feel less of myself. And if you're able to have those values from a young age, they're very important. So one from my mom, the other one is also understanding the faith, believing in something. Very important. Because that keeps you going. Wherever you want to say, either you're a Muslim, either way, your faith keeps you going. Because you know that, look at what we've had in the last 1 year. No one ever knew this was going to happen. No. We've lost so many people have died. So understanding that you need that thing to keep you going. So that's really, really, that's been that big stuff. Having to know that I can take what is called the Bible, to just read it and see that I can be encouraged, even in the midst of adversity, in the midst of challenges of life, in the midst of the difficulties, in the midst of doors being closed at you, in the midst of people calling you this black monkey, in the midst of so many things, in the midst of you being a country where you look down at, and knowing that this has helped propel. And like I also said to you about, I'm big on books. Those books have changed so much about the way I see myself. It's like when I said to you about the legacy, learned so much from a book called The Jewish Phenomenon. Tells you so many secrets. The Jewish people, in terms of percentage, in terms of the global numbers in the world, they're the fewest people on earth, but they're the most powerful people because they have some secret they love or they're raised on have and understand. So those books are very, very resourceful to someone like me.
Wow. Okay, cool. So honestly, there's so many gems to unpack here. It's unbelievable where you're dropping gems. So this section, right? So I'm going to ask you 5 quick fire questions, right?
Okay.
So literally just the first thing that comes to your head, like you have 10 seconds to answer each one. First thing, you may have already answered it in a way, so if it's just a repeat answer, that's fine. But really, just the first thing that comes to your head. I mean, we've had some random responses, right? But sometimes I feel like sometimes it kind of helps to see how the what you're thinking at the time, right? So, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that you can't live without.
My Bible.
Awesome. One thing that you need to be successful.
Myself.
You need yourself. Okay, I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't argue with that. You can't. One thing that brings you happiness.
Family.
If you had one wish, what would it be?
To know what I know now when I was 18.
Interestingly, you actually just, I mean, technically, you said the last one is one thing that you would advise a younger version of you.
Just invest in books, read so much.
Okay.
And get mentored.
Okay, awesome. Listen, honestly, the amount of gems here that this is like, people really need to get involved. I think the education, the guidance, we can really change people's lives in terms of reading, key messaging, but also just real practical guidance, because sometimes people advise you on how to get into property, or practical guidance that people can go take home and action immediately, right? Whether it's reading, whether it's looking into where opportunities are, putting a plan in place, right? This is a really actionable guidance, which I think is just, honestly, we appreciate even bringing that to this forum. But where can listeners connect with you, right? So if they want to see what you or Rehoboth is doing, or just connect with you or maybe ask questions, whatever it may be.
So we've got a platform, I forgot to mention that, which is something we just created in Dartford, which is the first ecosystem for businesses in our community. And we also have £1 million that we're trying to invest into businesses. So if you want to learn more about that and understand how we can help you in succeeding with your business, because we've got this, it's called Business Development Program, which is going to be training and mentoring for businesses. You can go to www.thehub, which I'll give you the information, .com, and you can also go to Rehoboth Property, REHOBOTH Property. Follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. So you can reach out to me even on LinkedIn as well. You can follow me on LinkedIn.
So the Rehoboth Property, is that your one, or do you have a like, rather than if someone wants to interact with you versus the firm?
I think I'm more on Instagram. So.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right, so yeah,
I will be coming on Instagram. I might be.
Okay.
I think I might make a final decision.
Okay.
On Instagram.
No, but that's fine. So, but but the property one will be, for example, if someone reaches out, they can
connect to me on that.
Okay.
LinkedIn is I'm big on LinkedIn, so you can connect to me on LinkedIn, which is my name, Sanmi Adegoke.
Okay, yeah, and that'll be in the title. And then just one last thing to close out is, can you lend me £5?
Why not?
You got £5? Have you got £5 on you?
I do, you know.
Wow. Honestly, not many people. You know, you're probably the first person. Wow. Wait, hold on. Did you plan this?
I didn't.
No, thank you very much. Honestly, I appreciate the gems, as I mentioned before. I appreciate you taking the time out to do it, to help people. Hopefully we help to inspire people, motivate people. It's my first £5 as well. I don't think I understand how iconic this moment is for this platform, right? But no, thank you very much. Honestly, really appreciate it. The gems have been awesome. But thank you very much. Ensure that you subscribe, share. As I said, there's more to learn from people. Honestly, people have done so much and achieved so much, and often they're so busy that they haven't even had a chance to take a step back and reflect and share that journey with people, right? And this is what we're trying to do. So thank you very much. Share and subscribe. Peace.
Hey, yo, what you cooking, bro?